Here's a saying I really like. Business is far too difficult to not play it big. Otherwise, you might as well just get a job. But here's the thing. Playing it big also means taking big risks. It means constantly reinvesting into the business. And for you to do that, you're going to need to have profits. So having those profits starts by you deeply understanding what your expenses truly are. So that's why in this video, I'm going to give you the exact formula and the process that you can use to make sure that your expenses stay in check as you keep scaling and that your profits are protected so that you are not going to run out of money or end up with a business that can't actually pay you while you're doing all the work to scale it. So let's dive right in. First, a little bit about us if you don't know me yet. My name is Joey and I run Agent CFO. We've helped over 50 businesses and oversee over 80 million in revenue from our clients on the bookkeeping side and CFO side. Most of our clients, they more than double every year, both their revenue, but also their profits. So we know a thing or two when it comes to keeping those expenses in check. And this is the exact process that we follow to achieve that. So step one is always to first define a target. Because as entrepreneurs, we cannot be reactive. So if you just wait to see what you made, then it's already too late. So if you're thinking about your business and your profit and loss from a perspective of, the money you made minus the expenses you have equals the profit that is left over that you can now do stuff with, then you're always going to be too late and you're just going to be spending more than you actually anticipated and always find yourself with less profit, less money in the bank account than you expected. So that's why you have to flip this equation to do it the profit first way. It's a great book if you've read it. If not, the main point of this book is to flip this formula in a way where it's revenue minus your profit target equals what you can now spend on everything to run the business. And this is such a powerful mindset to have, where you will make sure you protect the profit that you can use to either take out or reinvest. It's not just a thing that happens to be there or happens to be gone. So starting with this mindset, then the question becomes, how do you figure out what this target should be? Now, a lot of people, they still look for benchmarks. Now, even with AI, this is even more packed, where everyone's just looking, what margin should my agency make? What margin should my e-com brand make? How much should I spend on this? How much on that? What I found in the years doing this, that benchmarks are a very dangerous thing to look at because these benchmarks never tell you the full story. Let's take two agencies. One could be at 40 or 50% margin. One might only be at 10 to 20%. On paper, you would think the higher margin one is 10 times better. That is a way better agency. And it might be, but what this benchmark doesn't say is that this agency might actually still have the founder doing all of the sales and marketing. And so that 40 to 50% may actually be closer to 20 to 30% if they were running like a real business. Similarly, maybe they're churning much faster because they might have higher prices, but they can't actually retain them. And so that's why these benchmarks are very dangerous because they don't tell the full story. So what you should do instead is simple. And that is to look at your own numbers from either the last 3 months or the last year, if you're more of a seasonal business, to figure out how did you actually do and what can be done better. And if every month you're just looking at your last couple months and see what can we improve? Are we overspending anywhere? Can we have any savings? That is the best benchmark that you're ever going to have, because this is the truth for your business. And every month, if you just improve a couple things, your numbers will improve. So that is what we're going to do here. That is step two, setting these categories. Because if we're just looking at the bank account and we're just seeing how much money went out, that is far too broad and hard to see to figure out, can we actually improve something? So that's why setting the categories is so important. And this starts with your chart of accounts. If you have a bookkeeper or finance team, speak to them about this. Have them explain the chart of accounts that they're currently using to you. And all of this means is just like which buckets exist that costs are being allocated to. So is it like, hey, are we just allocating all the team to a payroll category? Or maybe if you have multiple roles, this should be spread out over the operations team and the sales team and whatever other teams that you have. So you want to have your categories well defined and properly split out so that you can actually start to see the trends and how much you should spend on them. Once you've done that, you can now look at your actual numbers. This is so important. Again, have your finance team prepare this for you or pull it up yourself. What you want is something like this, where you can see for the last 3 months, or again, if you're a very seasonal business, look at the last year and just list these numbers in these categories so that you can actually see exactly how much you spent on all these different categories. Right now, we're not looking to make a judgment yet whether this is good or bad. We are just figuring out what is our benchmark. So once you have this, you can go on to the next step, which is setting your targets. This is again something that is quite subjective, but now that we have the numbers, it becomes a whole lot easier. Because look at this, what we can now do in this same view is add some percentages next to it to just see like, hey, what percentage of our revenue is actually going to all these different areas? Like how much are we spending on marketing, on payroll, on software, on our team? And when we see this, we can now see it's like, okay, hey, our margin was like 6% only in January, but it did climb up a little bit to 10 to 13%. And now you can ask yourself the question like, hey, okay, am I happy at 10%? Some businesses, this is fine. You know, I still think any business, like I like to always aim for at least 20% at the bottom. That is really where I think any business, any industry can really be at. That's what you should be aiming for. Anything above that is great. And we have clients that are at 40 to 50% bottom line. Granted, they're often are more reliant on the founder still. But again, that doesn't matter. All that matters is how your business is doing. And so now that you see this, you can start to ask yourself these questions. Like, hey, where do I feel that we're just a bit heavy? Like, what is just like too high for my liking? You know, it might be payroll. It's like, hey, like this is a lot of operational drag that we have. And now with like AI and with the efficiency gains, I want to make sure we're not just going to keep hiring every time we grow a little bit, but I want to make sure that we're going to be more efficient. So maybe you're going to set like, hey, I want this, like I'm going to set a target of 30% here. That is what I want to aim for. That's what you do for all these categories. You're going to go through this and say like, hey, what is based on my history a realistic number? What is something I want to push for and like challenge myself and the team for that we need to either, you know, become more efficient, look for automation, look for different ways that we can do it, look for ways to increase the capacity that with our current team, we might be able to take on more revenue. Like that is your starting point. So you'll find that in some categories, you're very low, like 1%. You can just leave that for now then. If you're the higher ones, that's usually where most of the benefits sit. So that is really the point of this step. You set these targets, you work out like, hey, based on what you did now, what can we improve over the coming months? What are the right targets to have? And this is what we're going to be aiming for. So after you do that, the beautiful thing that happens is that you're no longer asking yourself, hey, can I afford this? Can we afford this hire? Can we afford this software? Can we afford this new order? The question now becomes, does this fit in our current month's budget? And so imagine if you currently have a team that is also requesting hires or is requesting new expenses from you, and right now you have no way to kind of push back on them sometimes, or just like to kind of challenge these requests. If you had a good budget, you can have that conversation with them. Right? It's like, hey, right now this is not in our budget. As we scale to maybe 250K a month, or as we start to reach 300K a month, that is when there's room in the budget again, and we can make these new investments. And so this becomes a much easier conversation. And like you'll find yourself like no longer doubting yourself whether you can do something or you can't do something, because once you have that budget, it's just nice and easy. So that is really the point of this step. Then you can go to step 4, which is running your actuals. And this is where all the fun is, because this is where you're actually going to make most of your money. I'll start it off with this quote, and that is that: watch your costs and the profits will take care of themselves. And this is what we see month after month with our clients when we are mindful of the expenses, because then the profits will just be there every time. Take a look again at this example. Here you have that same view that you already created with the budget for the month. So based on those targets that you had set, you will then be able to like say for every month, hey, what am I expecting? What is the budget for that? Now, even if you do that, I can guarantee you it's never going to be exactly right. There's always stuff that just comes up, something urgent that needs to happen. It's never going to be 100% right, but that is not the point. The point is that now, after the month is over, you can see where you went wrong. And that is really the beauty of this. So now we're running the actual, and we see that there's these different categories, like, hey, direct labor, we spent more here. A big one, again, travel, spent more on travel than we had budgeted for. Marketing, we went over budget. And so now there will be a few of these categories that will just tell you, hey, we overspent. And I can ask, why did we do that? What can we learn from this? Was this a one-off thing? Is this a recurring thing? Do we need to stop anything? Is there a good reason that we went over? If you do this and you have this conversation, either with your team, with your finance person, or just on your own, you will find that so many of these things just actually weren't needed, and that there wasn't actually a good reason for it. Or it just keeps you mindful and motivated that now you got to grow the business faster because you have these new costs and you got to make sure you're going to get the ROI from it. So that is really the power, to have this as a process, to every month look at what happened and then go from there. That then as a bonus one, I'll give you the advanced step, how we do this at Agent CFO. And this is by breaking it down in 3 layers. We look at revenue, we look at expenses, and we look at cash separately. Because if we go back to this, it will give you a final difference. But it can be hard to say whether this is just because our revenue forecast was off or because whether our expense budgeting was off. And so by looking at this from these 3 angles, you will be able to quickly isolate where a problem might be. So what I want you to do is for every month, set your revenue budget or the target that you have, set the expense budget, and I figure out like, hey, based on that revenue, how much do we expect to spend in all these categories? And set a cash budget. Like, hey, if that happens, how much cash should we have in the bank account? Which includes the money you're taking out personally, any inventory orders you're making, or anything else that happens that doesn't hit your P&L immediately. If you do that, and then every month you're looking at like, hey, where did we hit it? Where did we go off track? You will get such a good understanding of your business that decisions will just become easy because you know exactly like, oh yeah, hey, my revenue is pretty much always on track. Like I have a very well-defined sales pipeline. I know exactly how much money we are going to make to like, within 5% difference. Same for expenses, same for cash. If you can nail that, then you don't even need the month-end close anymore from your bookkeeper. You don't have to wait till the 15th of the next month to get your P&L because you can trust your numbers, you can trust your budget. Whereas like, hey, yeah, like for next month, I already know, likely within 5% accuracy, how much we're actually going to make, based on what's currently in the pipeline or based on the current marketing expenses that we're incurring. If you can get to that point, which is a never-ending journey, then business is going to become so much nicer because you can actually make decisions with more confidence and not just like, blindly shoot for the moon and just hope you're going to get there. So splitting it out in these 2 layers is extremely valuable. Then lastly, what to do next. So here's the summary of it. Every month, I want you to set the targets, then run your actuals, review the variance, and optimize. If you do this every month or you have a finance team that does this, you are going to benefit greatly from it because the result is that profit will become predictable. That is, of course, the dream here, where there's hidden money that will just come up because during your actuals, you will see where you went over. That decisions will become easier because you've already pre-planned everything. Profit will become predictable because everything follows an actual process. And that means you can scale with a lot more confidence because you actually have planned for everything that needs to happen. So if you do that, you will benefit greatly. If you want any help with that, then you can also book a call directly with me or check out our website here below. We do all the stuff that you currently hate doing, the bookkeeping, the tracking, the budgeting, but also the stuff that you're probably not yet doing, which might be running the actuals, doing the actual expense calculations, doing the expense reviews, and just everything that needs to happen from a finance side to make sure that your profits are protected, you have cash in the bank, and you know what to do to grow the business. So if you want any help with that, just book a call with me. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.